Hi everybody, how is everybody doing? I hope everyone is at least holding up okay right now. So for today's video, I wanted to do a quick discussion, quick rumination. This isn't scripted or anything, this is just my thoughts kind of blathered at a camera about what it's felt like for me personally as a trans person these past, few days, about a little over a week, because there has been a lot going on in LGBTQ rights and especially trans rights and trans stories that have been happening over the past week. And it's honestly been emotionally taxing and really difficult to handle. Even the positive stuff in a weird way has been just emotionally difficult to process in my brain. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit with all of you. And again, I'm only speaking from my own personal sense of self. I can't speak for all LGBTQ people, but I hope that by sharing what I'm feeling, maybe there are other queer and trans people out there who may be feeling similar or the same, or I can at least give people who may not understand what it's like to be an LGBTQ and specifically a trans person right now, give you a little bit of an insight into the potential feelings that a queer person may be feeling right now at this specific moment in history, and especially during Pride Month. So, with that all being said, let me give you a brief overview from my perspective, again, not having scripted this out, of what's been going on the past week or so. Now, obviously, this is June, this is Pride Month. This is supposed to be a time that, at least in the past few years, where LGBTQ people take a time to celebrate ourselves, to feel like we can take pride in who we are in a society that, for the most part, really puts us down. And especially since a certain, Cheeto president has been elected into office, has been a lot harder for us lately. But of course, unfortunately, Pride Month kicked off in a really crappy way, especially for a lot of trans people. And I was talking specifically about JK Rowling. JK Rowling, I did a bunch of videos on her, so I won't focus too much on this, but for those of you who don't know, JK Rowling, author of the Harry Potter series, someone that a lot of queer people look up to, a lot of people in general look up to, but a lot of queer people specifically because her books meant so much to us as kids, especially of my generation, I should say, and helped us, for me personally, helped me find my queerness and transness. Like, there's a reason why I found Polyjuice Potion to be particularly interesting and wish that I could have some so I could maybe, live my dream of being a girl when I was a kid. It was something that was a fantasy in my brain. So, she helped us with that, and she comes out with a bunch of transphobic and turfy-like statements, and even in a whole essay just putting down trans people. I did a whole videos on that, sharing my emotions. I really don't want to dredge it back up. If you are curious about that, go check that out. But that was really difficult for me specifically, and I know there's a lot of people that I understand the point of view. I was like, she's just an author, she's just a person, she wrote kids' books, get over it. And there are much more bigger, important things going on in the world. That's 100% true. There's way more going on in the world than whatever the hell a woman who wrote her best books over a decade ago has to say on my rights. But it is hard when someone that you looked up to, someone that you meant a lot to you, to a lot of people, meant a lot to a generation of people, and someone that did good charity work and has done good work in her life, and someone with a really big platform because of all of those things, uses that platform to attack your identity specifically. It hurts. It honestly just hurts, and I felt so much anger and wanting to just express that anger in a way that felt productive and not attacking, but try to educate. And I'm lucky enough that I have a platform, however small it is, to be able to do that and make the videos that a lot of you probably saw. But that was, to do that work, to vent that anger in a way that felt constructive, was itself taxing and hard. And I know for a lot of trans people, they wanted to do the same. They probably processed it in their own way, but it was hard for them in a lot of ways. Then on Friday, I was just emotionally raw and tired and done. I've been editing videos and things like that. And then on Friday, we learn from the Department of Health and Human Services under the Trump administration in the United States that it is now legal to discriminate against trans people for being trans in health cases, mostly under the Affordable Care Act, but it does set precedent for other health cares and health insurances to do the same thing. It is a precedent-setting thing. Falling under Title IX, defining sex as just biological sex, you can't protect trans people under that definition. We're just reading the law. And however you may interpret that, whether you're, strictly by the law person and saying like, oh, yes, when the law was written, it wasn't intended to include trans people, so of course the law should be written that way. Even if you do believe that, the fact that the Trump administration decided now to implement that policy, and by the way, this is a policy that they have been considering for a long time. I did a video on it about 2 years ago, which I'll link down in the doobly-doo and hopefully up here if I remember, that goes into the implications of that law. Again, it was written 2 years ago, so it's a tad bit out of date, but the basic summaries and ideas still stand there. But hearing that in the middle of a pandemic, where it is very possible that I could get sick. Right now, I live in Los Angeles for the most part, and I'm lucky enough and privileged enough to live there that I generally, for the most part, don't worry about my healthcare as a trans person. Generally, there are many times where pretty much all of my doctors don't know how to handle trans healthcare, and I have to kind of advocate for myself a lot of the time, like tell them what I need, like what hormones I need, what dosages I need, because they don't know. But for the most part, they're all affirming in the sense that they will do their best to try to help me as a trans person. But for many trans people who don't live in those areas, who don't live in more progressive areas of the country, this healthcare law could be incredibly scary, especially during a pandemic, where maybe you get sick and you need to call a EMT, or you need to go to the hospital because you have COVID-19, or any of those things. And you could be discriminated against simply because you're trans. I'm in right now New Mexico. I'm in New Mexico visiting family at the moment, and I generally think New Mexico, Taos, I don't want to insult anybody. I'm in Taos, New Mexico. I think it's a fairly progressive place, and I think most people would want to help me, but this area of the country does have a certain reputation for possibly being less LGBTQ friendly than most. And that's terrifying. What if I get COVID here? What if I get sick here? What if I get hurt here? And now I can be discriminated against because I'm trans. Someone could let me die because I'm trans. That's what I learned on Friday. And that's the fear that many people felt on Friday. After everything with JK Rowling, and again, JK Rowling is probably small potatoes compared to this, but, it is terrifying. And I should also say, JK Rowling's views influence policy. She may not be influencing policy directly, but the people who share her views, TERFs, who form groups and things like that she has supported, they affect policy, especially in the UK, but even in the United States. One would even say that the Trump administration's idea of basing on just biological sex is definitely a very TERF idea, whether it came from them or not. It definitely comes from the same vein of thought, and many TERF groups in the United States actually pushed for this change in definition, even though it hurts everybody, not just trans people. And again, I did a video on that talking about the implications of how it hurts everybody. Not that you should just care because it hurts everybody, you should care because it also hurts trans people, but it does hurt everybody, if that makes you more inclined to care because it affects your situation. So yeah, after dealing with all the stuff with JK Rowling, feeling exhausted, now I have this. This is even worse. How am I supposed to handle that? How am I supposed to handle all the emotional weight that I put into JK Rowling, and then even more? In fact, I wanted to do a video on Friday about it, and I just couldn't. I had no energy. In fact, I still kind of have no energy. Why do you think I didn't script this video? I probably could have done a much more well-scripted video about the law and the implications of it and things like that, but I just don't have the energy, and I already did a video on it, so, go check that out. I'm sorry I keep pushing that, but it just goes to show where my mental state is at the moment. And all of this, by the way, is coming from a white trans woman. This doesn't even broach, I don't even know how to emotionally broach as a white person who doesn't experience this every day, the plight of black trans women in this country. How 2 black women were killed just in the past week or so. And how many black trans women are killed regularly just for being black and trans. Black trans women of color are the most vulnerable people in the United States right now. The most vulnerable. And I don't say that to erase the vulnerabilities of any other groups like black men or black women, cis or trans. But black trans women are the most vulnerable people. And there were many rallies and protests this weekend for black trans women, specifically for the 2 black women who were killed. And saying, and I will repeat this is the stance of my platform, Black Lives Matter and Black Trans Lives Matter. And I am by no means going to sit here and try to take that hurt and that pain of that community, of the black trans community, for my own. It's not. I do feel anger and frustration and so many emotions, sadness, as a trans person who feels for my trans sisters and trans brothers and non-binary folks as well. But I am also not as vulnerable as they are because I am a white, upper middle class woman, trans or not. And like I said, I am vulnerable as a trans person, as all those other things illuminated, but I am not the most vulnerable. And so I sit here feeling the pain and hurt of all the other stuff that's going on, and also, knowing that I need to stand up for Black trans women of color. And I want to do that. Use my platform, use my voice, donate as best I can. And I'm trying to do those things in my own way and discuss it with my family. And that's what we should be doing as white people, by the way. Use your whiteness to talk to other white people, talk to your families, talk to your communities, people that don't necessarily know or feel these things all the time. Talk to them about these issues. It is our job. It is our job as people who are white, who are trying to be allies to these communities, to the Black community, and specifically for me, Black trans women of color, that we educate ourselves and we speak to other white people about this. And also, don't try to override other people's voices. Don't try to override the voices and leadership of the Black community. They are the ones that need to be leading this fight. But our voices are best used to talk to other people who are more apt to listen to our voices, as wrong as that may be. As wrong as people should listen to everyone's voices when they are the ones that are most hurt or most need to be heard. But that sadly isn't the case. But going back to emotions, there's all this stuff going on, right? And then all that happens. And then Monday, we get this great news, I guess, from the Supreme Court that they have upheld that you cannot fire and you cannot discriminate against LGBTQ people, and specifically gay and trans people, because that's what the case was about, for their sexuality or for their gender identity in jobs. That's what the case was about. Using the same law, by the way, that the Department of Health and Human Services is using to discriminate against trans people. Which is, this goes into my feeling on it. It's like the same thing, the same law is being interpreted in two different ways to both help and harm us. And so while it is incredibly amazing that this landmark victory has happened, it's also whiplash. It's incredible whiplash. How am I supposed to trust a government and laws that can be just willy-nilly interpreted in different ways to protect or harm my rights? And yes, this decision by the Supreme Court will help cases against the Department of Health and Human Services laws, but those cases still need to be brought. Those fights still need to be fought in court. And by the way, there's still fights coming on the horizon to the Supreme Court. There's a Supreme Court case called Fulton versus the City of Philadelphia, I believe, that will probably go in front of the Supreme Court, or maybe at least some higher courts as well, that basically argue the same thing as the cake case from a few years ago. That is basically arguing that, well, maybe you can't discriminate as a trans or gay person based on, just discrimination law, but if you have a religious belief that trans people are wrong, then you can discriminate against them individually. That's something that can still happen. That's still up for debate. My rights, my ability to be protected are still up for debate, even with this landmark case. So how am I supposed to feel about something that has been alternatively used to hurt my community and help my community? I want to celebrate. This is worthy of celebration. I'm glad it happens during Pride Month. This is a great case to happen during Pride Month. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not going to like anything. I do want to celebrate. It is cause for celebration, but it is tempered by so many things, and it's also just emotionally taxing. How am I supposed to go from the depths of the despair to the heights of celebration? I can't. I just can't. The whiplash is too strong. The emotional whiplash is too strong, and so I'm just kind of left here being like, yeah, that's a thing that I'm feeling. I can't fully process it right now, but I'm definitely feeling it. And all of this stuff, by the way, going against the backdrop of the pandemic, of, the protests in the United States and around the world for racial equality and against police brutality, which I agree with, by the way. I agree with the protests. All of that is going on right now, and I know all of us, to some degree or another, are feeling tired and this pressure and just exhaustion. But as a trans person, it's even more exhausting, and I can't even imagine how more exhausting it is for people of color and trans women of color. It's just layers and layers and layers of exhaustion and whiplash, and it's to the point where, going to what I just said a few minutes ago, that even in the midst of terrible crap, when a good thing happens, we probably want to latch onto it and say, like, yes, good thing. But it's hard to even feel that right now. My birthday is in 2 days, and I'm going to celebrate and have fun. I'm going to be doing a live stream the day before my birthday. We'll have fun. It'll be a good time. I'm going to try and ignore everything, but even my birthday, I can't fully feel right now, which sucks. So I don't know. It's a lot. And I don't have any definitive stance. I don't have any big thing to say about it. It's just, it sucks. Maybe that's all I need to say is this feeling is a lot. I'm feeling a lot. Other people are feeling less. Other people are feeling a hell of a lot more. And other people are in a hell of a lot more uncomfortable and dangerous situation than I am. And it all just sucks. But I guess just ruminating on all that, I do like to end my videos and my thoughts on positive things, on productive things. Sometimes it's an appeal to the Star Trek future. Sometimes it's an appeal to our humanity. But I'm going to not end this video that way as I'm sitting here ruminating on it, because I think that is my goal with this channel, to see the positive in the humanity, see the positive in the future, and I will always aim for that goal, no matter how hard things get. But I think right now, what needs to be said most is that it sucks right now, and it's okay to feel that it sucks. It's okay. It's okay to not feel the energy to celebrate good news. It's okay to feel that it sucks. To sit with that a little bit. I'm not saying stay there. I'm not saying feel it forever. I'm not saying we need to sit in that forever. But I think for this moment, it's okay to just say, it sucks. And I think even saying that makes it feel better, makes it easier to fight, to just acknowledge it. So maybe there is a positive in there. It sucks. It sucks right now. For a lot of reasons. And the last thing I will say, on top of all of that, is even though it does suck, no matter what, you, right there, you little person watching this video, you are a beautiful, amazing human being. I don't know who you are. Probably never will. Maybe I'll see your comment if you comment on the video or anything like that. You don't have to. But I know that you're a person. You're a person sitting watching this video. Whether you agree with me or not, you're still a person. And I just want you to know that just being here, just existing, you're doing a good job. just existing right now is praiseworthy. So I'm glad that you are. And I'm glad that we get to meet in some way, shape, or form. Have some form of connection, whether it's you watching this video and I just seeing your comment, anything like that. But I'm just glad that there's some connection out there. So yeah, you're awesome. And that's my ruminations on everything that's been going on. Hopefully it was interesting or worthwhile to all of you. And I hope that you, as always, rigmarole, like, comment, share, subscribe. Patreon is there if you want to help me out. But like I said, just remember that you are amazing. And as always, and especially right now, live long and prosper. Thank you so much to all of my patrons, especially right now considering everything that's going on in the world. You keep me motivated and you help me continue doing this channel every single month. I could not do it without you. And a special thanks to my patrons, Polymena, Mystic the Monarchete, Bree Beecher, Din Hagney, Dante St. James, Anti-Cat808, Patrick Shannon, Wayne Twitchell, Wen Dizzlebizzle, Subraxis, Zach Cody, Maeve, Jason Knott, Maggie Evans, Christy Marie Johnson, Gavin Robinson, William Stewart, Michael Beam, Miranda Janelle, Mari Neckar, Lorena Mesa, Wellington Marcus, Susan Banks, Buttoneer, Ish the Mad, Ashley Allen Bociccio, Boyd and Mary Beth Earl, Stefan Schuhart, Greg Gillum, Christina Dalliance, Ashlyn Solstice, and Eli Bergmoss. Thank you to all of you.